All right, welcome back to Afternoon Drive. My name is Drew Moholland. This is my wife, Sarah Conway. I have a great show for you today. We have Kim Warnick on the show. She's putting on a big benefit for Chelsea tonight, which has been so hard hit during the COVID-19. A lot of just deaths, a lot of cases, and it's just one of those hard hit communities around here. And they're putting on a benefit for Chelsea tonight, and Kim is behind it, and a lot of big names involved too. So we'll talk with her about that in just a moment. I do want to start though. This is the first show since I have had my wisdom teeth removed, survived, and we recorded some to get us through last week. But this is kind of the first chance we've had to address the Black Lives Matter and the George Floyd killing, and it's been a crazy week, crazy 2 weeks, and I know I do feel like there's real change out there. Sarah, I don't think we've seen really anything like this in our lives. It feels like kind of
history in making.
Yeah.
So I hope that a lot of change does come from this. I think a lot of people like us have been just not super comfortable speaking out against racial injustice, which I don't know. I just feel like, what are we to say about it? Or two privileged white people, but I think now people are starting to realize more people need to speak out about it, and it's not right. So
we've certainly seen that. Most of these protests have been peaceful and really good. The calm in there, there was a little bit of violence on that first night. It seems like there's kind of some extra waves of people coming in after sundown, but most of these protests across the country have been really peaceful, productive protests. Yeah. And I do feel like, I think even people that you and I know that, of course, family members even that we know aren't racist, are asking questions that they weren't asking before. We're even asking questions that,
definitely,
we weren't asking before. And it's certainly a period in history that I will never forget. I do hope these protests go on peacefully here, because we're going to see a lot of them. I think they seem to be happening every day, whether it be Boston or our community is Danvers. We had one. All the communities around here are having their own. So hopefully everybody can stay safe through all those. Of course, emotions sometimes run high through a lot of these things, but hopefully it all goes well. I think the police are having to kind of take a look at how I know they've already seen changes within police forces of, eliminating certain tactics. And I think they're taking a real good hard look in the mirror.
Tactics that it was crazy that they were even allowed to do.
Right. There's no doubt about it. It's a hard job. Everybody acknowledges that police officer's job is a difficult one, but it is some of these videos have just been startling. Even besides the George Floyd killing, even though you saw that one in Buffalo the other night, 75-year-old man who looked like he was just going up to say something to the police. And then, it seems like three guys push him down. That was horrible to watch. And there's been a bunch of that.
There's been so many.
And it's interesting to me that, and so many people have said this now, but it's not that these injustices haven't been happening to Black people all these years. People are just filming it now. Think about the creation of the camera on the iPhone. And it's so true. Think about how some of these things just would have this uproar never would have happened without the video.
Yeah, I think social media has definitely helped push it along. So it's a positive thing for social media and get everyone talking about it, and you can't ignore it.
Certainly. Well, George Floyd was laid to rest, of course, the other day. May he rest in peace. And let's hope there is change here as we go forward. It definitely feels like it in the air out there. We'll talk a lot more about this as we go. But let's get to our guest right now. We're going to talk about the concert for Chelsea tonight. And stand by. Thanks for joining us. All right, welcome back to Live from Drew's House here, another edition from our kitchen. Drew Moholland, Sarah Conway. Our guest today is Kim Warnick of the group Calling All Crows, a great group that does all sorts of great work for great causes. Tonight's a big event that we're having her on for is an event called All In for Chelsea. Kim, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So last time I saw you, it was at the House of Blues, and you were, it was the Chad Stokes show, but it was his Chad Stokes and the Pintos. But you guys were having what was that last cause? You have done all sorts of causes. What was the last one last year?
We have, yeah. So we were focused on what's called our Here for the Music campaign, which is preventing sexual violence at concerts and festivals.
That's right. I remember that when you came up and gave a very nice speech. So when you popped on here, I said, I remember Kim. Tonight's event is another one. You base so much of this around music, of course, but it's All In for Chelsea, a community that has been terribly hard hit through the COVID-19 pandemic. For those of you who don't know how hard Chelsea's been hit, it has been one of the hot spots. Tell us a little bit about tonight.
Yeah, so we're really just grateful. So Will Daly, one of a local artists here, came to us and said, we want to do more in Chelsea. So he and I had done what we've been calling them virtual service projects, but these sort of online live streams with an artist and a community organization, and spending 30 minutes online together with music fans, taking an action on this, right on the live stream. So it could be sending a petition, sending an email, doing something to figure out a way to support frontline communities during the pandemic. And we worked with the Chelsea Collaborative for that. And we learned a lot about how Chelsea has a higher infection rate than New York City. Which is wild. It's the hardest hit community in Boston. 80% of Chelsea residents are essential workers. So much of the reason for, it's a lot of reasons, but one of the main things is that people are going to work and being exposed to risk, just trying to make a living and take care of all of us in our community. So we're really just blown away by the Chelsea Collaborative and the community response that Chelsea has had. People just started like a pop-up food pantry on their front lawn to just try and fill the need, and just like an incredible community response. And we wanted to figure out how to support that. And so a bunch of artists got together and said, what we have right now is our voices and our audience, and let's put that together. Let's have this celebration, and let's raise some money to support this response.
Excellent. I want to talk a little bit about how you choose these things a little later, but let's talk a little bit about those artists tonight. It is quite a lineup that you've put together.
Yeah, we have a great lineup. I'm so excited. I always like the lineups that we're doing, but I got to be honest that this is one I'm very excited about, because I feel like in a normal in-person show, you don't mix genres quite as much as we're doing tonight. So it's really fun. So we have Cliff Notes, we have Oompa, we have Will Daly, Chadwick Stokes, Aubrey Hattard, Tanya Donnelly. The list goes on, but it's a really, really incredible lineup. And a lot of the focus for that was we were trying to pick, Massachusetts and New England based artists who are going to have that tie to this community and really understand how to show up locally for a hard hit community right in our own backyard.
How has you work with so many of these artists? How has have you felt, everybody I talk to talks about the musicians are great in giving back. I mean, never mind all these virtual performances they put on their own time, but when it comes to these sorts of things, the music community tends to show up. They tend to be there. How have you found in your work? Yeah,
it's really amazing, because I think the other part to remember during all of this is the music community has been slammed. I mean, the industry is really hurting right now. And when I say the industry, I mean really specifically the people making the music, the people running independent venues. A lot of this industry has been hard hit. And so seeing artists who might be struggling on their own, finding the ways that they can show up and support has been so powerful. And I do think that's a big part of it. We're sometimes hesitant to ask and try to be really gracious when we're saying, hey, can you do this? But people want to figure out how to support. And if you can't be writing the check all the time because your income's not coming in, finding a way to use your talent or your platform to raise money is a really powerful way to show up, even when your wallet might not be able to show up.
And of course, I mean, there's so much going on in the world, but the one constant over these last few months has been really a renewed sense of just thankfulness for the medical workers. And I know that they're going to be a part of this tonight as well.
Yeah, we sort of have all of these artists who are performing, which is incredible, but we'll be interspersing interviews with essential workers. So some of those are medical workers, some are people working at a food pantry or at a daycare or at an economic development organization. So really trying to give people a picture of what is happening in Chelsea and who is this Chelsea community. I mean, for people who don't live there, they might not know a whole lot. So really introducing people to the leaders in this Chelsea community during this time, and seeing the work that organizations like Green Roots and CAPIC and the Chelsea Collaborative are doing.
And, they came up with that almost right away, because Chelsea was immediately, we knew Chelsea was going to be a hotspot for cases. The numbers just showed it. And they came up with that One Chelsea Fund. I mean, the community really rallied around Chelsea in a lot of ways. I mean, they need it, of course, but it has been really, some of these terrible things. It's cool to see these nice movements come out of it.
Yeah, so United Way is hosting the One Chelsea Fund, and we were talking to the executive director of the Neighborhood Development Corp yesterday. His name's Jose Areta, and he was saying that they just surpassed $1 million raised for the One Chelsea Fund, which is really, really amazing. I did not fact check that, but it was really incredible. And so much of that money is going directly to families and individuals impacted. So they're doing both like support of these organizations who are delivering food and other supplies and things like that, but they're also giving grant money directly to residents of Chelsea. So in, like $250, $500 check to sort of help with bills or whatever it is that people need right now.
Again, we're joined here by Kim Warnick of Calling All Crows, big event tonight, All In for Chelsea. How's this whole virtual life been? I know it's strange for so many people. I've seen you on stage giving speeches at concerts. I mean, I get the sense you love a good live music show like Sarah and I do. And I know these artists it's driving them crazy not being able to go out there and play in front of their fans. But what has the virtual life been like for you doing all this?
It's weird. I mean, I always work remotely except for when I'm at shows and festivals. So that's a big except for. So in some ways, the day-to-day doesn't feel like the work part anyways doesn't feel wildly different because, this is my setup.
Yeah. But it's a fantastic backdrop there.
Thank you. Right. I definitely added that in the midst of the virtual. Yeah, I mean, it's really sad. I mean, I'm glad we're doing it. I have no complaints. I think it's the right thing, but yeah, I miss concerts. I miss people. I miss like gathering in person. I think when I think about Calling All Crows work, even as some sort of like novel types of concerts, like a drive-in concert or things like that, like we still have, we're people to people organizing. We talk to people and show up and do service projects. And so even that, we're not quite back yet, even as smaller things start to come back. So the virtual world is strange, but, we're working with it. I was talking to a friend who's a musician the other day, and she was just like, sort of down, which is, allowed in these times, and feeling like, oh, why did I choose this? Like, I don't even like this that much. And I was like, no, you love performing, and you're not allowed, you have to do all the bad parts of your job and none of the fun parts of your job right now. Like, you should stay a musician, and I think it's really hard to remember, like, oh, right, some people thrive on being with people and that like community aspect, and that is really cut off in the virtual world.
Yeah. We'd be remiss. I know we opened the show. We do our little intro before we brought you in, but we'd be remiss to talk about the George Floyd and all the protests going on right now in the world. I know so many of these artists are involved in that way and have already spoken out. I know I think it's fair to say you're very close with Chad Stokes. Is that a fair line? And he's been talking about obviously not just George Floyd, but he's made that a police brutality, and he's made that a point of reference for many, many years here and following his career. What has been the talk amongst the artists about living in this pandemic and dealing with this, All In for Chelsea, while all this other stuff is going on? It is really almost two pandemics meshing into one,
Yeah, it's, it's a good question. It's a really, really hard and really, really important time. I think a crisis, creates a lot of room for change, but it has to be forced through, right? Like, no change is happening with a polite ask. And so it's been interesting to see artists, understand like how to show up and use their platform, but also just how to show up. I mean, I think this is the other thing we've been talking about some is artists are more than their platform. And sometimes we really grab onto artists because they have an audience, but they also have a voice, and also just are full people who are grappling with this and trying to figure it out themselves. And particularly for, you know, our Black artists that we work with, that like, that's an extra sort of giant thing to process and figuring out how to do that in this world. And so, yeah, I think everyone's sort of just grappling with how to show up in a pandemic and another pandemic and in this moment where there's so much need. And I think for artists, like Cliff Notes, like Chad, you know, some of these artists who've been at it for longer, it's a little bit easier to fall into that groove of sort of where to plug in and where to step up and where to use your voice and where to back off. But for artists who are newer to speaking out, I mean, it's exciting. It's exciting to see people find their way in activism, even if it's messy and a little full of mistakes.
Yes, I definitely do. Do we envision? I don't know how the virtual thing. I would actually. I would guess your job is made 100 times harder because you probably have to be somewhat scripted here in these virtual, you know, events. You know, you're on at this time. You're on at this time. We're going to move it like clockwork.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure none of that really works exactly how you wanted it to. Speaking of messy, your job must be pretty messy on a night like tonight.
Yeah, it's it really is. It's good. I'm not a producer. I run a nonprofit, and I have all of a sudden become a producer. So, which is like I'm trying my best, and it is a funny world to be like coaching a musician on like how to like adjust the gain on their mic, and I was like, I barely just learned what that word means. Like I really, I'm trying. So
musicians are learning that too. Do you know how many musicians have been like, wait, is the camera on?
Like,
So,
can you tell? Like,
yes.
Can you see the light? I'm like, use your eyes. You can see what I see. And
there are people on the other side, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I get it. Like I've toured. Like there's like 20 techs. So yeah, it's messy. I think so far people have been very forgiving. I keep, you know, we were doing these virtual service projects. We've now done over 30 of them. So we seem to sort of have more of a rhythm, but we still sometimes, you know, struggle. So yeah, it's messy. I think people at home are forgiving. If they're not, they don't tell us. So I appreciate that. There's no like mean comments. So we're just like, anyone who's annoyed with us is at least doing it quietly. And yeah, I think everyone's just trying to figure it out. And I think that just realistically, like the overwhelming way that I feel, and I feel so much for like tech support people right now, is that I'm like, just hand it to me. Just give me your phone. I'll fix it for you. And like, you can't do that because that's not how a pandemic works. So I think it's been really good for everyone to figure out how to be patient and to be like better teachers than just like, give me your phone and let me fix it for you.
Again, we're joined here by Kim Warnick, Calling All Crows, a fantastic organization who has done a lot of great work for a lot of great causes. Kim, you'll appreciate this. It was actually, as you were talking, Sarah and I were lucky enough to be at the big show that you had last winter at the House of Blues. And it was kind of the last one, and you were about to announce what your cause was for the next year. Yeah. And Sarah and I have made it a thing where we try to guess what the cause is going to be. I wonder what they're going to do. I think we were both wrong, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, I actually forget what mine was. I think you said, I forget what you said. I think it was maybe climate change, maybe, but probably something about the environment. But I remember thinking that I wonder how they choose these, because there's a million things to choose from. What is that process? Is it 12 of you in a room that are fighting over ideas? How does that work?
Yeah, I like to imagine this like dark cloud, like cloaked room. And yeah, it varies. So we do a new campaign about every 2 years. So we do it that way. And yeah, to be honest, it's usually, there's usually a lot of agreement. There's not a ton of battling it out.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think some of it is, so Calling All Crows works almost like an on-ramp to activism for musicians and music fans. So we're really thinking about how do we inject resources into a movement that's already existing, and how do we partner with those folks on the ground and like get them resources. And so with that in mind, we are paying attention to things that are on the rise, right? So we're coming in like a little before something gets really big. And I'm not claiming we're the reason it gets big. It's just like we're sort of paying attention to like what's the next big issue that's going to be there, and how can we start getting these sort of new activism folks involved and plugged in and connected to the groups who have already been doing this work. And so this, right now we're focused on what's called our Unlocked Voices campaign, which is ending mass incarceration. So I think, similarly, like, really what it means is just like our board and our staff is an ear to the ground. And we're all activists, we're all in this world in our own communities and in our own lives, and really paying attention to what movements are really gaining momentum right now and getting support, and how can we help to continue pushing that support and getting this movement to its breaking point and getting it to that point where it's getting attention. And so here we are in the midst of like mass incarceration and state violence really, really needing attention and support. And so we're working with...
What a time to pull that out when it became such an issue during this crisis of, what to do with, do you let the non-violent prisoners out? And I know there were several artists coming up feeling very strongly about that. And it has been done in some parts of the country and others not so much. But what a time to make that your cause. I bet you didn't see a pandemic coming your way when you...
No, we didn't. I really didn't see a pandemic coming. I personally was on vacation when it broke out in Germany and immediately got the coronavirus. So, yeah.
COVID-19?
Yeah, I did. I was fine. I was fine. But it was, it's just like, plenty of people saw it coming. I did not. I am not a public health professional. And I, but yeah, we did not know that was going to be sort of the shift that our work took, was really like emergency response to folks in prison and in jail, which is a really, really dangerous place, talk about hotspots. Really dangerous place to be is in a prison or jail right now.
What, okay, I know you don't want to make this about yourself, but I have to ask, you're in Germany and you get COVID-19. What is that process? Did you quarantine there, or did you find out?
No, I found out when I came back. So I left like once it all was like, there was a travel ban, there was a whole thing. I got on my flight and I came home, and then I came off a vacation and was sick for a week.
Wow. Okay.
Never going on vacation again. Sorry, calling all crows. I was out for like 3 weeks.
Did you get to finish the vacation?
Yeah, it was like, there was like 2 days left where I, there was nothing open, and I just I was visiting a friend. So it didn't matter that it's not like I was sitting in my hotel room doing nothing. I was at my friend's place. And
I was curious because there's so many stories I've heard. I've had so many people on that were overseas and then, had to like find unique ways to get back because, certain things just closed down, and, we had to fly to a different country because there was a train that got you here. And then I've heard some wild stories in that regard. So
yeah, one of my friends had one of those stories, but no, I got to take my original flight. Like the timing of mine sort of worked out that I didn't have to do anything wild. No wild travel. The
timing of your COVID-19 worked out just fine.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, okay, well, here we are. I felt like very, not that, whatever, no one cared except for me. I felt very guilty that I was like, I just took 3 weeks off work. I'm so sorry. What are you going to do?
Was it asymptomatic, or did you have some scares there?
No, I had symptoms, but it was, they were like not anywhere near hospital symptoms. So I was, sort of on my couch, hydrating and sleeping. I just slept all the time. I was so tired. So yeah, I live alone. So it was very easy for me to quarantine. My friends dropped off groceries and everything was fine.
Yeah. Sarah keeps saying she's made for quarantine. She's
Yeah, I don't mind staying home, and I'm a homebody, so, but I did not have COVID-19. So, yeah, it's a different struggle when you're actually sick.
We have two dogs that she's in love with, so they've been very spoiled with. Usually they find a way to make an appearance on the show. So far, so good.
One of them is sleeping under the table.
Yeah.
Classic.
It is classic. All right, so I get Kim Warnick, Calling All Crows, big show tonight, all in for Chelsea. How can people tune into this? That's a good one. Let's put the word out on that.
Yeah, so tune into Calling All Crows Facebook page. and you're going to think it's counting all crows by the time you go to look it up, and you're going to be wrong. So Calling All Crows Facebook page. We'll be live there from 8 to 10.
All right. And you see some of these great artists. It's going to be, you guys always put together a great show, which is fantastic. This should be fun. I know you've been busy putting this all together. How many hands go into putting this show on? I'm just curious.
Yeah, this one was mostly like 3 or 4 of us putting it all together. Yeah, I know, right? I was like, why am I tired? Really, Will Daly, Adam Klein, and like Joe and Taylor over at the Klein CK Communications group have really been the ones leading the charge with all of this. So it's been really amazing. And I think it's just like a nice reminder that we can all do a lot. I think sometimes we feel like a little bit paralyzed about what we can do. And particularly if you think about like, what do you already do well? What are you already good at? Just go do more of that for something useful. And I think that like this is an example of just everyone doing what they already do really well and targeting it towards a community that needs help. Like we have our PR people making sure that the world knows about it, and our artists like crushing it at performing and, bringing their fans along. And, I'm working with the folks on the ground to highlight what they're doing and understand and help tell that story and, do what you already know how to do and just go all in on it.
And there's something so nice too. I keep saying this, like, some of my buddies that aren't as into like music are like, you could just kind of watch, that artist perform that at another time on a YouTube video though. And I said like, no, there's something different about even like virtually of just watching something like first of all, live. You never know what's going to happen live. Yeah, we've all seen those stories. But second of all, like even like some of the stuff, it's just like this communal idea of watching everything together and participating in something together, raising money together, that sort of thing. It's just, I don't know, it's something that's very simple, but like very nice. Everybody like kind of getting involved in the same project together.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's the part, like when you're listening, even though you're not in a crowd of people, there is this sort of spirit of like, you see how many people are tuned in and like you see people writing in the comments and you're like, oh, we're kind of hanging out, and it's not the same. But it is different than watching it later, right? Like I've tried to do the thing where I like watch something that was live and the recorded version later. And it really does not I don't feel as part of something when I do that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. It feels like it shouldn't be that different, but I guess if you really think about it, I completely know why it is different. But, coffee mug time. You have a cool one. You're going to outgame us here. What do you got?
Sure. This is, and this actually, I'm trying to remember, this is bad. The new venue in, out of the surf shop in Massachusetts.
Oh, the
backyard, Levitate's backyard. But is that what it's called?
Marshfield, no. What is that called? I'm mind blanking too. Let's all take 10 seconds and think. I can't come up with it. Right, I could look it up.
Yeah, can you look it up? I really think it might just be like the Levitate backyard or something.
Okay. We'll keep this.
But I might be wrong. Anyways, this is where I got it from, was a show, Chadwick Stokes and the Pintos we had. They had. I was on the tour, but I'm not in the band. They had a little like mini tour over the summer, last summer when touring was a thing and safe. And that was our final stop.
Levitate Backyard and Rexicana Surf Cantina.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, and it had just opened. I mean, I don't think we weren't the first show, but we were we were one of the first shows they had there, and it's a cool little venue.
It's a cool group too, and I don't know how often. I'm sure you don't name drop too many other organizations while you're doing these things, but they were there. We did the festival there that they put together, and they do some really good work. I'm a big fan of theirs as well. Are the other groups that kind of do these festivals and work with other artists, do they all get along? You're friends with everyone?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty is that we're not, despite this one show that we're doing, we're not producers, right? Like we usually tag on to someone else's festival and help them bring a social component in. So we were actually at Levitate Festival. We had a booth there We did like a sexual violence prevention training there. So we get along well with them because we get to, exist because of the work that they're doing. And now in this sort of virtual time, we've become part of the event production side of it. But yeah, we definitely get along. I don't know about everyone else, but we make good friends.
The Calling All Crows group all seems to be pretty likable people. I have found over the years. Did you? Maybe not. You have any bad stories? No, I'm just kidding.
And I was like, well, we have 2 staff members, so it's me or her.
It is a small staff, huh? You guys, some of those shows you've been a part of, it feels bigger sometimes, which I guess is the whole point of what you do, try to make these small projects seem big and make a big impact. I guess that's probably, that means you're doing it well, I guess. But I go talking like crazy sometimes. Did you have anything to ask, Kim?
What you're doing is kind of like coaching these different artists through like talking about these topics and getting awareness to them. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, these artists really didn't need any coaching, but sometimes that's what we do. And like in part because we're all really living in this pandemic and really understand it. So, a lot of what we're doing, as a team putting this event together, one person really went and worked on pulling in artists who could do this and making sure they know their times and, show up on time. And then my focus has been much more on the nonprofit side. So how are we have 6 different community organizations coming on. We are interviewing all of them and highlighting that work and making sure the donation process works and all of that.
Are you saying that artists have been late before?
Never. It's never happened.
I couldn't imagine that sort of thing happening.
Yeah, I was, it's funny. I was at a protest the other day with some folks and, was constantly counting doing this. And I had this moment of being like, oh yeah, this is like touring. I mean, it's not like touring, but it's just the part of just like really keeping track of the people that are with you and corralling them in a direction.
Well, you do a great work. Kim Warnick, Calling All Crows. The event tonight is All In for Chelsea. One more time, place, give it to us, Kim.
From 8 to 10 on Calling All Crows Facebook page.
What was that again? Calling
All Crows.
Calling All Crows Facebook page. Go check it out. You're going to see a lot of great artists. I am very excited about this one on a personal level because it's a lot of artists that I actually follow and really like, and some great songwriters and like all their messages and all that. So personally, I'll be there anyway. But for those of you who don't know, a lot of these artists you're going to want to watch and again, be a part of a community event tonight, which is, I think, a pretty cool thing. I think it's something we've gained in these times. We've lost so much as, not as much to watch and whatever, concerts to go to. But I do think it's something, that idea of community watching and, community virtually watching and coming together to see these things. So some things that are good are coming out of this, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Kim Warnick, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it and have fun tonight, will you?
Thanks so much for having us on.
Absolutely. Kim Warnick. All right. Kim Warnick from Calling All Crows. That was fun, huh?
Yeah, it was good.
She's very, I remember we didn't really know Kim. Our good friend Adam Klein was nice enough, as she mentioned there. Adam's a big part of tonight's show too, but Adam was nice enough to set us up with Kim. And I didn't think I had met her before, but I do remember her from that show.
I remember her too. Yeah, she came on and announced.
Yeah, she gave a very nice speech and talked about the next platform. So she's a very nice representative for Calling All Crows. And hey, I hope they have a good show tonight. Sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're going to watch.
We are. It's going to be good. Hopefully most people do too. I hope there's a big community gathering. I'm telling you, do you feel that? Like when we watch those things together? Like it feels different than like.
Well, yeah, because I think, and with us, we're usually in like group messages with other people who are watching, or like, oh, look, comments, and you see them posting things and commenting. And
Sarah actually yells at me sometimes for making too many comments.
Yeah, you get a little crazy with the comments.
I like to be interactive.
Yeah.
Okay, people don't need to hear from you.
Showing the support.
We didn't show our coffee mugs because I think we were being upstaged so badly.
Mine's very
iced
large.
coffee. Oh, you got like the
This was a free one we got. It's like dripping everywhere.
On me, actually.
On you.
It's disgusting.
It's just water.
It's like, okay. Yeah, mine's with the iced coffee, you need like the clear, like kitchen mug. So I don't know. That's what I'm going with. All right. Very good. Enjoy the show tonight. Again, Calling All Crows, putting it on. It is a great event. All in for Chelsea, a very hard hit community here through COVID-19. So enjoy that tonight. And a big thanks to Kim Warnick. My name is Drew Moholland. This is Sarah Conway. We will see you back here Thursday. All right. Bye-bye, folks. Another edition live from Drew's Kitchen.